So, what are we going to be talking about today? Today I just went 3 rounds with the manager at the local Dollar General because she got upset that I wasn't scanning my EBT quick enough on their self-checkout. I was having trouble working with their self-checkout machines. So she got irate and started bad mouthing me, and then said, "Oh, I never want you to see this store again." I'm like, "Lady, you ain't going to." Then she tried to accuse me of stealing the item that I was buying, and this is because, for one reason or another, their machines wanted to charge me 15 cents tax on a food item, and in the state of Ohio, there is no tax on food. So I go to use my debit card, and I put in the wrong number, and she immediately gets upset and starts, "We'll just do it," just generally, "I'll pay for myself." Like, no, lady, here's a quarter. I'm going to set it right here on your goddamn counter. You take the quarter. I'm getting my stuff and gone. I ain't coming back to this store. Now, I had about $25 in stock on Cash App for Dollar General. I sold it this morning. Right after I left the store, I sold their stock. I will have nothing more to do with, especially that Bell Fountain, Marion, Ohio store, Dollar General in general. As far as I'm concerned, if I can avoid them for any reason possible, if I can avoid their store, I will avoid their store because of the way that she treats. And I wasn't the only one that was, only EBT customer that she was treating badly. She treated one who was over beside me badly too. She was having problems with the machine as well, and she treated her just as bad. And then got all hippie because we were using EBT cards. So that's the situation there. So as far as I'm concerned, if they're basically adverse to the poor and adverse to people on disability. They wanted to become confrontational because we were using EBT cards and having to use their self-checkout because they didn't have a regular checkout. That being said, with that being the case, I don't want to give them any more business. I suggest that anyone else not give them any more business either. If you got stock in it on Cash App, or if you get stock in general and you can avoid having stock in that company, let them die. They're like Bud Light to me. They may as well just go. There are 15, 20 other stores in this town. The only reason I use the Dollar General, and I have done thousands of dollars of business with them a year because I only live about 3 blocks from them. Probably with the EBT card, more than thousands of dollars. But if they're going to be rude to their EBT using customers like that, I see no reason to do business with them. Whether they're local or not. Convenient, if it's because it's convenient or not. So, that's all I got to say. I got some other third-party people that I'll put on here to fill out the space, but I pretty much said what I got to say for the day.
First off, before we get into the details of this report, let me ask you really quickly, do you believe that inflation so far this year in 2023, with the handful of months that have passed by so far, is higher or lower than the COLA that we got at the beginning of this year? Remember, 8.7% COLA. Do you think inflation is higher, lower, or the same? Well, write your comments down below if you'd like to. Otherwise, just keep that in mind here as we work our way through the details of this report. So this report was released, and obviously we only have a few months so far in 2023 to actually reference, right? We're a handful of months so far into the year as of now, so it depends on what happens here through the rest of the year. But here's what this report is now saying. They're basically telling us that the 8.7% COLA that we got at the beginning of this year is on average every single month so far this year in 2023, on average 2.6% higher than real inflation. Yeah, you heard that correctly. Okay. So what they're claiming is that inflation is sitting at 6.1% and that the COLA that we got at the beginning of the year is 2.6% higher than that, which, by the way, the average beneficiary, that would average out to $44.90 a month is what they're claiming, is that we're getting more on average right now for the average beneficiary because our apparent 8.7% COLA is 2.6% higher than real inflation. Okay, maybe that's true. Maybe it's not. If they're actually looking at real numbers and real inflation on real things that real people are buying in the real world, I don't think that's really true. But again, whatever. If that's what they want to say, then fine. But I guess my rebuttal to that would be, what about 2021? What about 2022 when inflation was through the roof and the cost of living adjustments then was 1.3% in 2021, 5.9% in 2022, and we saw inflation last year in 2022 well above 5.9%. In fact, for the vast majority of the year, we were well over 8%, and we even topped out at 9.1% about a year ago in June of 2022. So for them to say this year, we should be grateful that we're getting a cost of living adjustment on average 2.6% higher than real inflation. I say, are you nuts? What about the last 2 years when inflation was, double what the actual cost of living adjustment was? Or look back to 2021 when inflation was, at that time, it was still working its way up. It was still going up the mountain. It had not hit the peak yet. But inflation was in 2021 was sitting like 4.5%, 5%, and the COLA that year was a little teeny tiny 1.3%. So I don't know. I guess this report here, I guess it kind of rubbed me the wrong way when I read through the details of this, and I thought, you've got to be kidding me right now that they're saying, oh, you're getting so much more. Okay, maybe we're getting a little bit more than what they're claiming as inflation, but have you looked at food prices lately? Yeah, food prices are still up about 10 to 10.5% on a year-over-year basis from what they were just a year ago, okay? Food prices are still going up. How about shelter, rents, things like this, utility prices? Have you looked at utility bills lately? Utilities, depending on what you're looking at, electricity is up over 11%. Natural gas and heating oil, 27% on a year-over-year basis. So I guess who's really looking at the numbers here, right? So anyway, I thought this was an interesting report. I wanted to bring it to your attention right away because this is absolutely nuts that they act like, oh, you're getting more as your COLA this year than what real inflation is. Okay, fine. Maybe that's true. Maybe it's not. Depends on what's happening in the real world. But again, like I said, my rebuttal back to that is, what about the last 2 years when the COLA has been significantly below what inflation really actually is? So anyway, I don't know. I thought this was very interesting stuff. I wanted to bring it to your attention right away. But this is what they're now talking about, okay? So when it comes down to this year, again, remember, we're getting really close here to the third quarter of 2023. What does that mean? That means those are the 3 months that we need to watch very closely for the inflation during that time. Right there in the middle of summer, July, August, and September, it's, kind kind of in the middle of summer. It's, you know, the super hot time of summer, right? Kind of right there, July, August for sure anyway, June included. But obviously June is not included in these numbers. But these 3 months are the ones that are going to be the indicator as far as how much the COLA will be for next year, 2024, based on inflation this year, okay? It's going to be pretty important to watch this, okay? So we'll have to continue watching here what happens, but according to the monthly inflation reports that we continue to get, represented by the CPI, Consumer Price Index, it's released once per month, and again, I always bring you the information as the report is released, and I break down all the details for you and show you what's going on with real prices based on you know, the details of that report as I dig into and look into all the details of it. But when we get those numbers on a monthly basis, yes, fine, the headline numbers are coming down a little bit. But if we continue to dig into the report and look at it, we can still see food prices are still very strong. Shelter prices still very strong. Healthcare costs very strong. Well, what do we know based on other videos and other statistics that I've shared with you here on the channel, which is, where do most fixed income beneficiaries spend the majority of their money? Well, there you go. A huge percentage is spent on rents and shelter. Another huge percent, about 30%, is spent on food. Okay? Well, that doesn't leave much left for other things like healthcare and basically everything else that everybody needs on a monthly basis, right? So, anyway, I want to share all the details with you. Again, when I come across these reports like this, there's a ton of reports, believe it or not, that I don't even share with you here in videos, because a lot of times I come across all these reports, I read a ton of stuff every single day about all of these different things coming out, and I try to pick through and find the best information out of these reports. Sometimes I come back into these videos and I combine a couple of different reports into a single video and say, like, here's what the details of 3 reports or whatever, 3 studies, 3 surveys, or whatever I talk about. But sometimes I combine the details of them. But this was one in particular report that came out, and I thought, you know what? I'm not loving this one. I don't like this at all. They're acting like we should be, you know, grateful that we're getting a little bit more than inflation. Are you kidding me? Then I guess, what are they saying we should feel like for the last 2 years when they stiffed us for 2 years straight when we were trying to get more money and, you know, the COLA was small and inflation was high? What are they doing for us then? What did they do for us then? Other than absolutely nothing, right? They did nothing. They literally did nothing. And for them to come out and say something like, oh, we gave you a big COLA. No, they didn't. They didn't do jack. They ran a calculator. They ran a formula. And the formula told them what to do. They didn't do anything. They did nothing. Nothing. Okay? So anyway, I think we can all probably agree. The last couple of years, they totally stiffed us, right? When it comes down to anything for fixed income beneficiaries, when it comes down to, you know, real inflation, what was actually going on with higher prices on everything, as we're all sitting here begging, saying, please do something for us. We need something. The fixed income, the low income, about 70 million people that are receiving benefits from the Social Security Administration and those monthly checks. And meanwhile, like last year, inflation keep going up 0.5%, a percentage point every single month over month, as it's working its way up to the highs that we saw in June. And we're sitting here saying, come on, do something. Somebody help us out. And they're just sitting there on their thumbs doing absolutely nothing, right? So that's what we're talking about. Anyway, if you can tell, yeah, I'm kind of frustrated by this whole thing because we've sat here asking for them for so long to do something, and they've done nothing. Anyway, I'm here for you in any way that I can be. But again, this is another report here, another one that I wanted to bring to your attention so you can see what's actually going on out there and the reports that they're bringing to us. But anyway, I'll continue watching all this very closely. We're in an interesting time right now. We're on the cusp of getting very close to these 3 months that'll tell us what the raise will be for next year. And that's going to open up a whole nother can of worms as far as, oh, great, what's the increase to the Medicare Part B premium going to be? How is this going to impact benefits going forward? And all the details like that. So anyway, I'll keep you posted. Please make sure to subscribe down below if you haven't done so yet. Go back and check out any of the other thousands of videos here on the channel. There's a lot of great stuff out there. Things are changing very rapidly right now. And again, why I'm watching all the headlines very closely every single day, especially with this whole Social Security insolvency issue. Again, we know that Congress is getting, you know, kind of weird right now. They're coming out with all these different proposals and ideas and packages and all kinds of things that they want to do there. Again, I'll keep you posted. There's a lot of weird things going on, and we do know for a fact Social Security will be changing. How? Well, that's still up in the air, even though I've given you predictions in other videos as far as what I anticipate Social Security is going to be doing when they change. But you never know. You literally never know until they actually work their way through it. So either way, I'll keep you posted. Please make sure to subscribe down below. If you haven't done so, share the video with your friends, family, social media, and go back and check out some of the other thousands of videos here on the channel. Until next time, enjoy your day and catch you again later in the next